Have you turned the page from it yet, Lane, or not really?
Yes, I have. We had a great, time in OTAs, and I felt like we had a good time to reflect and then, realize what's ahead of us and get ready for the season. But really to try to get our mentality right and realize that it's going to be, a hard road ahead.
So the experience of defending a title beforehand, how does that frame your reference for the 2025 season, Lane?
Yeah, I mean, we got to experience a really rough start to 18 and end up getting to the playoffs. But I think what we realize is that we will get every team's best week in and week out. They can't wait to play the Super Bowl champions from the year before to make a statement. So, that's what I realized in 2018. And I don't want to make the same mistakes as I did then. So hopefully learn from them.
So what mistakes were made there that you think you could download to your current teammates who weren't around back then, Lane?
Yeah, I think I would say to not get complacent. I think complacency and being satisfied can really distract you mentally, and then it can really hurt your performance. And so you're playing to not lose rather than being focused and taking it one play at a time.
What do you mean you were playing not to lose in that season, you think?
No, I mean, we had a rough start, and we didn't start the season how we wanted to, and it was a surgence to get into the playoffs, and it made it a lot more difficult than what it had to be.
I've got Lane Johnson here on the Rich Eisen Show, and the concern amongst Eagles fans, if there is or are any, Lane, is the last time you came off of a Super Bowl and then had to switch offensive coordinators, that wasn't as successful as you'd have liked. And now here we go again, this one, however, off of a win in Kellen Moore. What do you have to say to folks about Kevin Patullo that might calm some of the nerves of Eagles fans right now, Lane?
Yeah, well, he has a great football mind. And, as far as the game plans for the past 4 years, whatever offense coordinator we had, Kevin was the right-hand man. So, he's a big part of the installation, both run and pass game. So, he's had his input there, and I think he's also a great communicator and really great with the guys in the locker room and has built relationships with us, the past 4 years. So it's, we're really excited about having him fill the void and eager to get started.
And how do you feel Jalen Hurts will be different now having that Super Bowl W and Super Bowl MVP and backing up the money that he got from the team with a new contract to be able to do all of that last year? How do you think it will manifest in more positive vibes, Lane?
Yeah, well, I think he does a good job of reaching out to highly successful people, such as Michael Jordan, Peyton Manning, and try to gain some perspective on what it takes to be a champion, but to repeat and what it takes and everything that's involved with it. So I think he's really matured, ever since I've had my time with him in the league. And he's just, he's very poised. And it seems, no matter what the situation is, good or bad in Philly, he's found a way to rise above it and succeed.
No, I know he's a Jordan brand athlete, and that might give him the clear path to a basket with MJ. But he did, in fact, reach out to Michael Jordan and ask him about following up on the ultimate success, Lane?
Yeah, just to gain some perspective and some insight, some of the things that he felt. And, I guess how to go about your business. And I guess that's really it.
Obviously, when we get him on, I'll ask him point blank. But is there anything you can share that he told you about? Jordan told me this, or anything like that, or that's just not that's not his style, even to talk about it like that.
Yeah, not his style. But I mean, I think he does a good job of just seeking wisdom. He seeks highly successful people, and he likes to have one-on-one conversations with them. So that's really it. But he does keep a lot to himself. But as far as trying to become a better football player and everything that involves with it, man, he does a good job of constantly seeking to improve himself.
Okay.
Little creative here. And then Jonathan Givney of ESPN reports at 11:38 last night when we're asleep, hey, Ace Bailey's canceling his workout with the Sixers. Would love to get your reaction to that story.
Not a surprise. I actually was hearing stuff like that for the last week. So not surprised by this And you know what? If he doesn't want to work out in Philly, that's a decision by him and his group and his representatives. And I think it points the Sixers in a different direction. And I've been hearing buzz around all the other players and prospects that are, viewed in the top 5. Anyway, like, VJ Edgecombe is one of those guys that I've heard his name a lot. And if you don't want to be here, you don't want to be here. You can't force something, no matter what. I think Ace Bailey, when you watch his tape, and the stuff with the Rutgers kids, they're really talented. And I think everybody just comes to the question of, you have 2 of the most talented players in college outside of Cooper Flagg, and then how come this team struggled to win games? To be honest with you, I think Ace has the highest potential ceiling, but it can also be one of those that it doesn't work out, and Ace Bailey needs to go to an environment maybe like a Utah,
a Wizards,
where there's no pressure. You develop a Toronto where you can do things and you're not going to get the spotlight on you at all times. So that's kind of how I view it. That if the environment is not matching the player and the player's talent at this point, and where this team is right now, so you move forward.
Kevin, the one thing I'm thinking, though, is that if this team is trading back, my one hesitation is I'm hoping that we're never going to be drafting at 3 again in any type of the near future. And to me, how about passing on being able to grab a talent at that kind of level of the draft that we hope to never see again very soon?
John, I'll tell you this. Fair question. I will tell you, I will be floored and shocked if they trade down. I'll just say that. From the people that I've talked to, I would be floored if they traded down.
Okay.
So I think if they hold the pick at 3 or they trade to 2, and I'm not saying that they're trading to 2, I would be floored if they trade down and drop to 5, 6, or 7. It is tough, though. This is a type of draft that you're sitting at 3, and potentially you can get a talent that you really like at 5 that you could potentially have gotten at 3. That's the toughest part. But I'll come back to one thing. I'm glad at least they got the pick, and it's not going to be with the potential team that's about to win the NBA championship tonight.
Sure,
right, exactly. Now, to that point, now you say you're hearing that they would not trade down. I wish they did. I wish that they would trade with like a New Orleans Pelicans.
Try to sell them on it.
And then you acquire a young player like a Herb Jones, and this way you're getting 2 players, right? You're getting a young player that's already NBA, proven, and then you're also getting that draft pick because this team, even though, and I know hell needs to freeze over for Joel Embiid to stay healthy, this team still has the players where they could be somewhat of contenders this year, but they also have to balance out the future and trying to get younger. So if you could trade back, you're still acquiring a player that could be the same level as what you're getting at 3, and you're also getting a player from whatever team you're making the trade with.
I 100% agree with you in that reasoning. I just think if you look at the history of the Sixers and the past and what talent that has gone at 3, I just think that they don't want to be in a position where you pass on somebody at 3 to drop to potentially 6 or 7, and 3 turns out to be really good.
Okay.
Are we smoked by the history, though, Kevin? I mean,
yes.
How much is that? What it is?
I think so. I think that plays a role here, especially when you look at the talent and you're, as I mentioned, you can get. This is a draft. It's a 2-player draft. There's a ton of talent, guys, in the lottery. A ton of talent. But it's a 2-player draft when you talk about the separation, right? There's one tier with Cooper Flagg. There's another tier with Dylan Harper. And then there's the rest. Mm-hmm. And I think the viewpoint is that Ace Bailey could potentially, a few years from now, be like, whoa, he was actually supposed to be in that top tier. He also could not be near that top tier. We just don't know that. But there's a less of a guarantee when you look at what the top 2 talent have and bring to the table right now compared to everybody else.
You're listening to 97.5 The Fanatic, WPEN, WPN, HD1, Burlington, Philadelphia, BZ Media Group station, broadcasting live from the Comcast Business Studio, powering possibilities. Our man Kevin Nagani joins us here on the Comcast Business Hotline. Kevin, about 25 minutes ago, before we had you on, we had former Eagles head coach Dick Vermeil on. Dick Vermeil, also, of course, the head coach of the greatest show on turf. I asked him, I was like, look, do you see any similarities? Because, Torrey Holt, Isaac Bruce versus A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Marshall Faulk versus Saquon Barkley, the great stories of Kurt Warner and Jalen Hurts. He ends up saying that the Eagles are the better overall team. The 2024-25 Super Bowl champion Eagles were the better overall team than the greatest show on turf. Curious to get your reaction to that.
That's a great compliment, and I think a lot of that weighs in on what he saw from the defense as well. I think that you could look at, player to player like you just did and brought up with the offense, and they match up pretty well. They have different roles. Marshall Faulk was a guy that could catch the ball a lot better than Saquon, but,
right.
Man, between the tackles, what Saquon could do, I think that's a very fair point by him because the edge goes to how good that defense was. And if you need proof, just, play the tape in the first 3 quarters of the Super Bowl and how dominant that line was. And they were just in the right spot doing the right thing on every single play. I think that plays a huge role in the conversation. And the defense just, you can't have a better performance. That game will always be 40-6 in my mind. And I think in many Philadelphians' minds. And when you dominate a team that is in the conversation of dynasty, it's a little bit different than how the Rams won that Super Bowl. Let's not forget they were a half a yard from losing that game. Dyson reaches out. Mike Jones doesn't make that tackle. Completely different conversation.
I asked him, too, about the Eagles being so young. If that's like an advantage when you're trying to repeat, or could it be a disadvantage because young guys may be getting a little full of themselves or not knowing how to handle success? And he put that legitimately right on the coaches and said, well, then that's got to be on the coaches to keep everybody level and keep everybody on this, everybody's feet on the ground, succinctly.
I think he's 100% right. And you know what? I actually think that's a good thing for the Eagles when you look at the coaching staff, especially the defensive coordinator.
Sure.
You think that guy, Vic Fangio, is going to basically say, hey, we won, let's take a break? No. There's a certain demand for excellence. That's a great thing for this team, man. That is and also it comes from the ownership, and it comes from Howie and Jeffrey Lurie and the expectations and what they want and how they view things. I think also they've done a really good job of creating competition on the team, right? Especially with the young guys. You want to one-up each other. You're coming in together. You're not going to There's also camaraderie, right? Let's not forget the relationship that the Georgia Dogs have with each other here, right? They hold each other accountable. There's certain things that were passed on from Brandon Graham to Nolan Smith, and I think all that stuff plays a huge role in this. And then you look at the offensive line. Down the road, when they talk about some of the great offensive lines in the history of the game, I think last year's unit will be mentioned in the same breath. You can go down the line and say, wow, what they did. You think Stoutland's going to lay up? You think Sirianni and his intensity is going to lay up? I think the coaching staff, it's a valid point that they're going to hold them accountable.